Hello and welcome. It is another rousing edition of the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast. I'm Matt Michaels. Hello to you, Brad Trinago.
Hello. Welcome to March Madness in multiple sports. We got some brackets and stuff to talk about.
There are so
right
many
now.
brackets to discuss right now. We don't want to waste any time. We want to thank our friends at Shelter Insurance for powering the podcast. Ranked number one in customer satisfaction for auto insurance in the Central region by J.D. Power 6 of the last 7 years. We're your shield. We're your shelter. And Tiger fans say aloha to Hawaiian Bros, where the island-inspired flavors are positively delicious. You'll love favorites like Huli Huli Chicken, Luau Pig, and the delectable Dole Soft Serve. Hawaiian Bros is just south of campus on Grindstone Parkway, or order online at hawaiianbros.com. Well, you think of brackets in the basketball realm, but you have 6 of them to follow as a Missouri Tiger fan because there are 6 NCAA tournament brackets in which Missouri wrestlers will take part. And we have one of them here, Cam Steed out of Oklahoma. And, of course, head coach Brian Smith joins us as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here, and congratulations. It's finally tournament time, and we can really get excited about that one.
Yep, it's that time of the year. Ready to go.
Cam, let's start with you. It was your first time competing at Big 12s recently. You entered the bracket as a 5 seed, made it all the way to the championship in that weight class and finished second. What do you think were some of the keys to your success in that tournament?
I've been preparing for it since I got here. I have the best coaches in the world, best teammates. I get to train with Keegan O'Toole every day. So I don't think anybody can throw anything at me that I haven't seen before. And it just gives me kind of peace of mind knowing that I've seen it all.
In the iron sharpens iron category, how hard is it to go against Diamond in Keegan O'Toole every day?
When I first got here, I was I was a little nervous every day when I'd go with them just because I'd never really gotten my butt whooped like how I did when I got here. But you kind of get acclimated there for after a while, and then matches and goes start to get closer and closer, and I start to build confidence in myself. So, he's one of the biggest reasons on why I was even able to be in the Big 12 finals or get any upsets or anything like that. So,
Coach, from your perspective, we'll start with Cam here. What were some of the reasons that you felt like when you were watching that were keys to Cam's success?
Confidence. I think in the last 3 or 4 weeks, the coaching staff, we would sit down and after his individual drills, we were just seeing this confidence grow in him. And he has, in the last few years, been really close with some of the best guys in the country and placed in some of the top tournaments. So we knew if he put a good tournament together, it wouldn't surprise us. And he knocked off the number 2 or 3 guy in the country from Utah Valley. And that wasn't, he took him down with what he does. He had, almost that little bear hug, and he just kept it and finished it in overtime. But he's been there, done that, and now he's put a string of really good matches together and was close in the finals. Gets that one, then we're seeded even higher. But now going into the Nationals, we just see if confidence growing now. Big 12 finals, now let's go knock some other people off and get there.
Cam, we hear so much about Tiger style being a way of life and a mindset. How does that relate to you? Like, how do you take Tiger style in and turn it into things like that where you're getting upsets and you're finding success on the mat in an event where you really need to have it at the Big 12s?
Our first 2 pillars, believe and compete. As long as I believe in my coaches and I believe in myself, I think I can do anything. And I know I can compete with the best guys because I do compete with the best guy in the country every day. So I think those 2 things just stick true to me in everything I do in life. I think if I believe in something, I can do it.
Coach, another guy like Cam who outperformed his seed anyway at the Big 12s was Cam Moore. He was at the 8 seed at the 133-pound bracket. He finished as the 4 seed, and he was able to earn an automatic NCAA Tournament qualifier spot too. Specifically for Cade, what was going well for him?
Cade's just a dangerous dude. And I say that because his personality's that way, and just you never know. I watch guys in practice, and they're like, man, that's Cade being Cade, and he just does some crazy things. But what happened in this tournament is he just kind of found his identity, which we've been searching for, as a coaching staff and as a wrestler. And he's been getting better and better, but he just really frustrated. He was wrestling the number 1 seed in the quarterfinals, I think it was, and kids ranked 3rd in the country at the time. And he just stuck to his game plan, frustrated him, and beat him 19-5, and just completely dominated the match, but did it with things he's been working on. And then he just went out and executed and never went away from it, just kept doing it. And we're like, man, Cade, that's what you got to do. And it's funny because I think he has a losing record, but he's beaten some of the best guys in the country. And before the tournament, somebody had posted something that, man, this is the bad draw. This guy, you never know what you're going to get because he can go in there and upset the best people. And he's proved it at that tournament. So it's good. I'm glad because he's a sophomore and he's getting out to the tournament for the second time, has put some good wins together. Now everybody, I look at it, records mean nothing at this tournament. Seeds mean absolutely nothing. Just go out and battle and do what you can. And if you stick with that process, good things can happen.
Yeah, from a top-down perspective in a wrestler's development, do you see matches like that when there are stakes and success to the level that Cade had as kind of light bulb moments? Can you see that over the arc of careers of wrestlers that you've coached?
Without a doubt. That's a confidence builder. When Cam beat the kid from Utah Valley, that's another. You put that's like, I've just beaten another best guy. Now you start to realize I'm one of those guys now, and you take that on. That persona becomes you, and you believe in it. And where Cade has put a couple of these together now, that we know he's going to have that. Man, those moments where that is Cade now. He's going to do that consistently. And so that's what you want. You need kids. It's that belief part that you've been doing it. And Cade in the practice room is the biggest pain in the ass I've ever seen. That now that he brought it out to the mat and put a bunch of good matches and bumped his seed, came ahead of his seed by 4 spots, and could have even, there were some other close matches in there that he's right there, and I'm excited for him going into nationals and his future here.
Tiger fans, say aloha to Hawaiian Bros, where the island-inspired flavors are positively delicious. You'll love favorites like huli huli chicken, luau pig, and the delectable Dole soft serve. Hawaiian Bros, just south of campus on Grindstone Parkway, or order at hawaiianbros.com.
Well, of course, the veteran Keegan O'Toole, he's finished in the top 3 all 4 years at NCAAs, 2 national titles. It is his first time competing at 174 pounds, though. Will there be anything different for him at that weight in terms of what he's seen before?
Keegan's Keegan. He's gotten bigger. There's no doubt about that, and he's not going to change. And it's just he's always going forward, always attacking, and that's the way he's going to wrestle. You don't even notice the difference with the weight class. And he's doing a great job through the tournament. I think the Sachs kid from Oklahoma was ranked in the top 10 in the country, and he goes out and majors them and dominates the match. And I think the kid from Iowa State, he tech-falled in the first period, and that kid was ranked. And so it's just he's never going to change. He's going to go out and leave it on the mat because he's aggressive, and that's what makes him special.
Cam, we don't often get to hear from Keegan O'Toole's opponents on this podcast. You at least train against him. What makes him so tough to wrestle against?
Everything. You could hit this dude with a move that nobody else could even think of hitting, and like the next go, you'll try to do the same move, and it'll just be like completely shut down. Like after you do one thing. My freshman year, we had a joke where we say he'd log it into the database like he's a robot because after that one time, you're never going to get that move again. And it's just he's always wants to learn. He's sneaky athletic. People don't like to give him credit for that, but he's kind of athletic, I'm not going to lie. But, yeah, he's just so smart everywhere. So, like, it's hard to outthink him. Like, he's always looking forward to the next position. And he knows where you're going to go and how you're going to react, and he knows where he's going to go for how you react. So he's always 2 steps ahead of you.
Cam, you mentioned getting your butt kicked a little bit in practice by Keegan. Do you remember the first time you went up against him?
Yes.
What was that like?
Actually, it was a match day. It was my first ever match day here. I was maybe 160 pounds. My first match, I wrestled Jarrett J. Hughes. He beat me 17-3, I think. And then I was like, all right, can't get any worse than that. And then I had Keegan next match, and he beat me like 21-3 or something like that. And I was like, God, I suck. And then, he kind of just took me under his wing after that. But that was a rough day.
Why did you want to baptize him so roughly, Coach?
It's the best way to learn. The ones that want to come back to that and get better and grow, those are the ones that succeed. And I can tell you all throughout the history of our program, the young guys coming in, I remember Max Askren saying, he won a tournament in the first week of November, and he came to me and he got OW, and he said, "It's the first takedowns I've gotten, because I haven't gotten a takedown in the wrestling room." So we went to a tournament, and it was the first takedowns because we had such a tough room at that time. So that's, you want to be in a room where you're going to be challenged. In any sport, you want to be in a program where there's going to be challenges to it, because that's what elevates you.
Cam, circling back to Big 12s, you're actually from Collinsville, Oklahoma. The tournament was in Tulsa. That's like 20 miles away. Did that help you think, to almost have the home mat advantage?
In a sense, yeah. I grew up always wrestling. There was like some duels across the street that I'd always wrestle as a little kid. I've actually wrestled a couple of my teammates now in those duels, and afterwards we would always go over and watch the Big 12s. So it's kind of surreal moment to go and actually wrestle in it, and especially my senior year, I was kind of had a good idea on where I was gonna come into college. So I was watching all the Mizzou guys wrestle.
We actually visited him when we were at the Big 12s his senior year. Went to the school.
That worked out well for you, huh?
Yeah.
Nice trip, yeah.
Is it neat to wrestle in Tulsa without wearing orange and having some people in the back of your mind you're disappointing someone when you do that, right?
I mean, I don't. Everybody here, they know I would never put on orange. There's no other place I'd rather be. I don't think I'd ever want to go to Oklahoma State. I'll drop to school. I don't care. I think always growing up, and you're from Oklahoma, you're expected to go to OU or Oklahoma State, but I was never like the biggest fan of, I would say, Oklahoma State. I was somewhat of a fan of Oklahoma because of Coach Maple and Brewer at the time. But I think the style here and everything like that has helped me develop way more than a school like that could.
We've talked about Cam and Cade and Keegan. You do have three more that qualified as at-larges. Josh Edmond at 141, James Conway at 157, Colton Hawks at 184. As you look at the draws that those three got, which one do you feel like, that, even though that wasn't a protected seed or anything, that kind of lined up pretty well for us?
I mean, when you look at Josh, he's beaten these guys probably his first couple opponents, he's beaten them last year. So and I think when you look at the schedule we had, it was one of the toughest schedules in the country. I mean, I think in all our duels this year, only one team wasn't ranked. And all the other teams, I think in the top 10, we wrestled 5 of them. So we picked up more losses that way. So our records may not look the same, but a lot of these teams, and I'm not picking on the East, but out East, they don't see as many of these teams. And we just happen to wrestle a lot of them that our records don't show well, but we've wrestled great competition. And that's a scary thing when you have to wrestle teams like that, because we've seen the best and we've wrestled the best. And Josh has lost some heartbreakers. He lost an overtime one at the conference and was winning a match over the Frost kid and gave it up at the end. So he's a kid that can go out to he was in the All-American round last year, and he's been ranked in the top 15 all season. So he's a dangerous guy at the national tournament because he's been there, done it, and I think this is his 3rd or 4th national tournament.
It feels like the last couple of seasons, Coach, you've had enough bad injury luck for a decade, much less 2 seasons. How has it helped your team and maybe your depth develop the fact that you've had to go next man up? And that might be a challenge in terms of the win-loss record, but it also leads to some exciting opportunities for people in your program.
I mean, I don't think I've ever had a season I know I haven't, that with this much adversity. But here we are, and we have 6 guys going. They've been through, I don't think you could go through much more than this. And now you have an opportunity where it's a whole new season out at NCAAs. They've been through all of this stuff and made it and are as healthy as you can be, and let's go battle. So I just think that's a part of, you're going to go through stuff like this in life, and they're going to be prepared for it, where there was a couple week stretch where we had 8 of the starters out of the lineup, and it was like, all right, who are we wrestling this week? We got to figure out what lineup we're going to have. But we made it, and guys did step up and grew from it, and the team actually became closer, and really it made some guys heroes on the team that never probably thought they would be, and stepping in the lineup and helping us beat Utah Valley and West Virginia and teams like that with, just a lineup that we never expected to have.
Cam, as you head to Philadelphia this week with the opportunity to compete in the NCAAs, what does success look like for you?
Go out there and compete, have fun. Obviously, I want to win a national title, but as long as I leave everything out there on the mat and don't hold back, I think I'll be proud of myself and hopefully get the job done.
I see you shaking your head. Yes, Coach Smith.
No, he's right.
I mean, that's what you want every wrestler to say this time of year, right?
You don't want to walk off a mat and say, man, I should have went harder, or I should have done this and done. You just go out there and do it. When I saw in overtime, I was coaching on another mat, and all I saw was his arm come across, and he locked a bear hug up. I didn't get to watch the end. We were watching it together yesterday. But I knew once he got there, man, don't leave that. That's where you belong. That's your move. And he did, and he finished it and took the kid down from there. And that's what it's got to be. You're going to get in these tough battles, and there's 19,000 people screaming and yelling, and you just got to go get it. You got to do what you do, and that's what he does. And that's how he beat the number 3 kid in the country. He went out and did what he does best.
How many human beings do you think will be taking field trips to the Rocky Steps when you're in Philly?
There'll be
Like, that's just going to be a constant 24 hours, right?
Yeah, that's usually what you do when you go out to Philly. I remember we went out during the season one year and wrestled Drexel and a couple teams, and we did that.
You want to get out there, Cam?
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know that was there.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you not seen Rocky?
I don't really watch movies.
That movie
right.
came out like 30
be the
years
only
before he
person
was
I
born.
Well, I
hasn't
know,
seen
but it's,
Rocky.
it's kind of a fighter's movie. It's adjacent. I just, curious.
I'm shocked he hasn't seen Rocky. Now I'm going to make him watch it.
Yeah, now we have a new team activity, so I'm sorry. You're going to have to watch one movie, I guess.
He was
Cam.
born in what, like 2006, 2005? 2004.
That
Okay,
came
sorry.
out in,
I
like,
apologize.
1976 or something, right?
Yeah, just
It's a while
explain.
before
I
you
don't
were
think my
born.
mom was born then.
Well, now we really have to be quiet before we make people upset. But Coach Brian Smith and Cam Steed, part of the Mizzou wrestling team that is headed to Philadelphia for the NCAA Championships. Of course, we look forward to that all throughout the course of the week and weekend. We know it'll be a great event for the whole team. Thank you guys for spending some time with us here on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast, and go get it done out there.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Brian Smith and Cam Steed. Brad and I will be back with a lot more going on inside Mizzou Athletics, including brackets. Yes, more brackets after you hear from our friends at Shelter Insurance.
This episode of Mizzou Storytellers on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast is brought to you by Shelter Insurance. Ranked number 1 in customer satisfaction for auto insurance in the Central Region by J.D. Power 5 out of the last 6 years. We're your shield. We're your shelter.
And the podcast is also powered by Socket. Socket Fiber is now available. It is the fastest, most reliable internet combined with local service and simple billing. Contact Socket today for voice data and internet services for your home and business. 1-800-SOCKET3 or visit socket.net. And a big thank you to Sophia's and Addison's restaurants. They are great local spots to visit before or after all Mizzou home games. Addison's has 2 locations in Southwest and downtown Columbia and features over 20 beers on tap, including local brewers, and of course the famous Nachos Biancos. So remember, before or after the game, stop by Addison's.
The only thing faster than a Mizzou women's basketball coaching search is Socket Internet. Apparently.
Well, to give you the full behind-the-scenes disclosure, if you're watching this, you might have noticed that Brad, I think, got a haircut. And we're wearing different clothes because we had to speak with our wrestling friends before they took off for Philadelphia. And so then we turn around, and in the blink of an eye, we appear different if you happen to be watching this somewhere. And, yes, Mizzou women's basketball has new leadership, as announced right before we recorded our second half of the podcast, because Brad and I are always on beck and call at all hours. Kellie Harper will be the new head coach of Missouri women's basketball. You know that name most recently as the head coach of the Tennessee Lady Vols. She has her experience at Missouri State going on down the line, all the way from her roots in the state of Tennessee, and as a player for the late, great Pat Summitt. There is championship pedigree everywhere she's gone. And now the will to win has been exemplified by Laird Veach in his first hire at the university. And I have to say, it's one that I think is making a lot of Missouri fans pretty happy right now.
Certainly a bold-faced name, right? You know, Kellie Harper, when she was Kelly Jolly, 3-time national champion under Pat Summitt as a player back in the Lady Vols heyday in the late 90s, had that Sweet 16 run for Missouri State in 2019, and from there went to Tennessee, another Sweet 16 appearance during her time in Knoxville. So she's got the experience as a head coach in the state of Missouri. She's got the experience as a head coach in the SEC, and that was one of the points of emphasis that Laird Veach made whenever he held a press conference at the start of this coaching search, was that, hey, we want someone who's proven and done it, right? And there's somebody that's proven and done it. 393 wins against 260 losses over 20 years as a Division I head coach. She's taken 4 different programs at the D1 level to the big dance already. I think Mizzou has a good chance to be the 5th.
When she was coaching at Tennessee, she was 53-24 against league competition, trailing only 2 head coaches who are still currently in and near the top of the league, Kim Mulkey at LSU and Don Staley at South Carolina. We understand the pool has gotten larger, certainly by virtue of the SEC Women's Championship game this past season. I mean, there are formidable opponents up and down, but as everybody has invested to make this men's basketball conference the juggernaut it is this season, there have been years in which SEC women's basketball has been something like that, and I think what this hire shows is Missouri wants it to be a place where the women's game is getting closer and closer to how the men's game performed this past season, year in and year out in Columbia.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think that, and I haven't had a chance to talk with Coach Harper yet, looking forward to that soon, but I don't think a Kellie Harper comes here without the understanding that there's going to be a significant commitment to making women's basketball a contender in the SEC. So that's an exciting thing, I think, for Tiger women's hoops fans.
Laird Veach quoted in the release, "We are absolutely thrilled to welcome Kellie Harper and her family to Mizzou. Kellie is a proven winner and a dynamic leader who understands the will to win necessary to succeed at the sport's highest level." Goes on to say, "We are incredibly excited about the future of Mizzou women's basketball under her leadership." And for her part, Kellie Harper calling it an honor, saying, quote, "Missouri is a special place, and I know firsthand the passion and pride that surrounds this program. Our family is excited to return to the state of Missouri. I look forward to working with our leadership and our student athletes, building strong relationships throughout the community and winning championships in Columbia. The foundation is in place for success, and I can't wait to get started."
Sophie Cunningham even in the press release. They got Sophie cleaned up enough to be in a press release. I don't know if there was any edits there, if they had to scrub out a couple,
like a bleep yeah or something like that.
Had to use the strike through thing where you highlight parts of the press release. But no, part of Sophie said in part, I am thrilled for the hiring of Kellie Harper as Mizzou's next women's basketball coach. And then at the end, MIZ baby. So it was still Sophie. I'm just saying, I'm curious if there was a sentence or two that maybe had to be altered or, changed.
Well, I mean, certainly someone whose voice matters in all of this as well.
Absolutely.
And maybe next time we get to speak to Sophie, we'll ask her if her voice had a little bit of somebody's ear as this thing was going on once it's all water under the bridge. But I think a lot of Tiger fans are excited to see Kellie Harper and her family coming to Columbia, and very excited to welcome them at a time that, as we record this, is TBA. So we'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll let you know on that. I think one of the other elements with this is that the transfer portal opens on the 24th, and you've got some other Power 4 job openings out there right now, and Mizzou was first in to lock in somebody. And that somebody can hit the ground running and start building those relationships with players that are going to be critical. Yes, and of course the current players. I shouldn't overlook that. But building relationships with the current players and then also being able to be, first in line in the portal to try and lock up some of the next talent that's going to be essential to get Mizzou back in the mix in the SEC.
So certainly an early welcome to Kellie, her husband John, who happens to be an assistant on her staffs throughout her college career. That's not an official announcement today, but I would expect the same sort of arrangement likely to be in place. And then, of course, Jackson and Kylie, the children of the family, welcome to Columbia, Missouri. And I know Tiger fans are very, very excited to have you in place.
Let's do it, baby. Excited.
Brad's excited.
Yeah,
he's the one who's qualified to talk about this. I am not.
Well, yeah, and we've seen, from her, she had 6 years at Missouri State, 5 years at Tennessee. So I saw plenty of Coach Harper on the opposite sideline, and for the most part, didn't really enjoy those games because those teams were good. So it'll be nice to have her on this side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll certainly be learning more in the days and weeks ahead. But Kellie Harper will be the new head coach of Missouri women's basketball, and certainly a hire getting a lot of attention in the women's hoop circles just within the past hour or so at the time we record this, and certainly within the past few you at the time that you will be listening to this Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast. What we did promise was brackets. I am also not qualified to break down all of the individual wrestling brackets. I have no chance there, but I do know that by dint of Keegan O'Toole finding his way to victory, he has a much easier path, and I think we've kind of mentioned this before. He has a much easier path to where he wants to go, which is another national championship. I feel that that's about all that I am qualified to say, but when you come back just one time before the end of the year and they say, oh yeah, you are one of the highest seeds in the country by default, it means that you're doing well, even if you're a weight class or two up from where you started this whole journey.
Certainly true. Cam Steed is going to have the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast bump
That's
at his
true.
back now. So you got to think that the wins of the pod will carry him to wins, WINS, in his bracket. We'll see how that plays out at 165.
Yeah. So we'll have a lot of fun following along with that over the course of the weekend. There is plenty to follow when it comes to Mizzou men's hoops, and that is the bracket that I'm sure you have been waiting for. The Tigers draw the Bulldogs of Drake in round number 1. And while some people say you're facing a 30-win team, and historically in the NCAA tournament that is a difficult draw, I think of all the other things that could have gone differently for Missouri in their first-round opponent as a 6 seed, and I think, you really got as good as you could hope for. You get to go within driving distance to Wichita, Kansas, not as a protected seed, but as a 6, just the way it worked out. You get to face, yes, a team that is well understood in this region and will certainly have representation in Wichita, but it's not going to be the same as the black and gold fans who are going to make their way down south to the Sunflower State and make their presence felt. It is a homecoming for Caleb Grill. Of course, he and his family hail from Wichita, Kansas, so that's pretty neat. And I feel like when you look at the matchup on paper in the first round, while you are facing a team that has a contrast of styles and may slow you down, there are things that work in Missouri's favor that make it a very compelling matchup. And oh, by the way, I feel like the draw down the road is not necessarily the most imposing for a team that has already beaten the team at the top of the West region in the Florida Gators. All these things coming together tells me on Selection Sunday, it went about as well as any Missouri fan, I think, could realistically have asked for.
A lot of people looking at mock brackets heading into Selection Sunday and saw Mizzou, in that 6 seed, 7 seed, maybe for a couple outliers, even an 8 seed range. So to be a 6 seed and to be in Wichita, I think that's enough of a win right there. And you talked about, the Caleb Grill angle. He told the media on Sunday, for him, his family has traveled so much to watch him play, and now he gets to go to them. So that's pretty cool. Although somehow, incredibly, he said he's never played in that venue, which is a bit of a surprise. But anyway, that'll still be a fun angle for Grill. And, Coach Gates pointing out, you can't take any of these moments for granted, meaning when you get to see your name pop up on the screen during the NCAA Tournament selection show. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, this is the highest Mizzou has been seeded since 2012. It's just the 4th time in the last 31 years that Mizzou has been a 6 seed or higher. This is not something that comes along every year. And oh, yeah, I would agree with you that Mizzou has a nice road here. They've got a good basketball team. They're 22-11. They've got wins against the top seed in Florida, like you mentioned. Win against Alabama. Win against a potential Sweet 16 opponent in Kansas, although I don't know if my heart could handle that emotionally that game. We'll see if it plays out. I guess I would take it if it's a Sweet 16 game. Got to get by Drake first, obviously, and a 30-win team and the Valley Champs, and a lot of Missouri ties all up and down that roster. So it'll be an interesting matchup, and it's one that I think a lot of folks outside of Missouri are looking at as one that could be pretty juicy, and I'm obviously looking forward to it too on Thursday night.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at some of the peripherals, and you have to begin and end, as many good upset-minded teams in the tournament do, with a standout guard, and Bennett Sturts is one of those. He is top 40 in the nation in assist rate, according to KenPom.com. He is top 100 in steal percentage. Of course, Missouri's got a borderline top 10 player in steal percentage in Anthony Robinson II. And he was on a national stage, right, in the Valley in Arch Madness. And so people got to see what he does. He is a three-point shooter, but he's active inside as well. You have to look at that as a start and finish sort of thing for Missouri. You have to account for him at all times. But as has also been pointed out here recently, there is not a player on this Bulldogs team that stands greater than 6 feet 8 inches tall. There's not a player on the team that's listed, according to Pomeroy's numbers, at greater than 220 pounds. You're going to send grown men down there against the Bulldogs in Mark Mitchell, Josh Gray. We may see Peyton Marshall in this game. That's not to mention the Aiden Shaws and Trent Burnses of the world. I mean, Missouri has a decided advantage there. I feel like if they value the basketball and get position and do it legally without fouling, they have an edge just in terms of what the game would seem to dictate in this one.
Mark Mitchell, and we're assuming from everything we've heard, the knee is going to be okay, and we'll have him back pretty close to full strength for that game. But it certainly does seem like an opportunity for Mark Mitchell to eat by being able to do what he does, which is power his way inside and either get buckets or draw fouls. Drake leads the nation in terms of fewest points per game allowed. I'm not sure I would say that Drake has the best defense in the country. They're a team that, and you have the KenPom numbers.
They lead the nation in terms of fewest possessions per game. Their adjusted tempo is dead last in Division I. Their possession length is the longest offensively in Division I. They want to grind you out in the half court and play close games. There is no doubt about it. And then be efficient enough when they get there. Defensively, they make success turning the ball over, so Missouri will have to value the basketball. It's like playing a clone of themselves in that regard. But the offense of Drake, because they hold the ball for so long in the forecourt, they turn it over at quite a large degree. And Missouri will want to get out from the turnovers in transition very quickly. I think that fast break points could well decide the game. If we look up at the end and Missouri has a victory by 10 or 11 points, and that's the fast break point margin, that could just be it right there in terms of a stat to watch out for as this thing plays out on Thursday evening.
This episode of Mizzou Storytellers on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast is brought to you by Sophia's and Addison's Restaurants. Sophia's and Addison's Restaurants are great local spots to visit before or after all Mizzou home games. Addison's has 2 locations in Southwest and downtown Columbia and features over 20 beers on tap, including local brewers and, of course, their famous Nachos Bianco. So remember, before or after the game, stop by Addison's.
Something else to keep an eye on, especially if Mizzou is able to speed Drake up a little bit. The top 2 national leaders in terms of minutes played per game are in Drake's backcourt. It's Sturtz and it's Mitch Muscari. Sturtz averages 39 minutes and 20 seconds a game. Mm-hmm. And so you know there are games in there where they got a blowout and he was able to sit a little bit. I mean, he's not going to come out unless he fouls out. Sturtz is going to be in there the whole time. Muscari's probably going to be in there the whole time. Can you throw your waves, not just Anthony Robinson, but Tony Perkins and Tamar Bates and Grill and et cetera? Can you run, a bunch of different guys at them and try to wear them down a little bit and make them work for everything they can get? That's going to be a big key too.
Well, Missouri wants to play its game, right? Like Sturtz, he plays nearly all of his team's minutes. I think KenPom listed at 98.7, which is absurd.
It's ridiculous.
Right? He's a 40-minute player, and that doesn't happen anymore.
He's not coming out. He's not coming out on Thursday.
And Muscari is right there with him at 96.5%. But you have 3 or 4 guards that can take someone off the dribble. And what I'm really curious to see is, while you still want to operate within yourself, is Missouri going to try to use switch action to either get Mitchell downhill against these guards, or are they going to just say to Bates and Perkins and Robinson, go after these guys? We want to make this more of a penetration dribble drive game because we want to pick up the ticky-tack fouls and force a very fine coach in Ben McCollum to put one or both of these guys on the bench and see if the other guys behind these two can beat us.
Well, it's a coach that Mizzou has seen before when he was at Northwest Missouri State. A little bit different stakes. It was an exhibition game on October 29th of 2012 when McCollum was the head coach at Northwest Missouri State. Mizzou did win that game. Hopefully it'll be by a similar margin, but I have the feeling that game's going to be a little bit – this game coming up on Thursday is going to be a little bit more stressful than the exhibition in October of 2012 was.
Another thing to look out for in terms of rebounding rate, Tavion Banks and Cam Manayu. Oh, gosh, I said Cam's name wrong. Manyawu. I said Cam's name wrong, and I knew I was going to do it. Sorry, Cam.
I didn't even try. I stayed away from it. So good.
I won't be
brave.
in Wichita for you to answer for me to answer to you, so whatever. Those two guys, in terms of their offensive rebound percentage, are two of the top 30, 40 in the nation. And what has Missouri struggled at times in its recent late season struggles? It's been with the offensive glass. So can you put a body on a body and keep the cheap points away from a couple of guys? Banks doesn't he gets about half his team's minutes, and Menyawu the same way. If you keep them off the offensive glass, you also take away, I would think, a large portion of Drake's scoring. And this is, again, for a team that wants to grind you down and make the possession difficult to begin with and take the shot late in the clock.
They do statistically, have a tremendous, in terms of rebounding, their numbers do look really, really good.
They have played in the Missouri Valley, is what you're going to say?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, their best win is Vanderbilt. And that's, Mizzou obviously lost to Vanderbilt. So there's I'm not saying this with any disrespect, but Drake's best win is Vanderbilt. How many teams did Mizzou play this year? How many games out of the 33 that Mizzou have played so far were against teams better than Vanderbilt? I mean, it's in the double digits pretty comfortably, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mizzou has played a much tougher schedule. The only Power 4 opponents for Drake, Miami and Vanderbilt on a neutral court back in November. They went to Kansas State, won in overtime in December. Miami and K-State did not have great seasons. We know Vanderbilt's, they're an NCAA tournament team. They're solid. But that's the ceiling in terms of who Drake has gone up against. This is by far the best opponent Drake has seen. Drake's losses all came against Missouri Valley teams, some of whom, like the Illinois Chicago types, didn't really have a lot of success overall throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is a game where Mizzou, you mentioned near the start of this conversation about men's basketball, it's one of the better draws, I think, that Mizzou could have had. Now, does that mean Mizzou's going to waltz through this game? I don't think so at all, but there's a real opportunity here. And again, playing about as close to home as you can, starting off with a Missouri Valley opponent, and then hopefully you go on from there. I think the Tigers have a shot at doing something special here.
Yeah, and by the way, the 2-point percentage defense is in the bottom 40 of the nation. They are number 303 according to Pomeroy's ratings in terms of 2-point percentage defense. So get the ball down low and let guys cook down near the basket. They do defend the three pretty well, and we'll see how that happens with a couple of guards who play the whole game. Can you run them through screens? Can you get their legs tired? Can you use athleticism to your advantage? All storylines you will want to watch over the balance of the game. Let us presume, because we're very positive thinkers here on the podcast, that Missouri can get out of that first-round matchup against Drake. You're facing a Texas Tech team that does metrically look very sound and can be very talented offensively, but they're also a little bit banged up. Or a UNC Wilmington team that is coming from, again, the 14 seed in that instance. And, hey, let's not shy away from the fact that the last time Missouri was in a tournament, it was a 15 who got them, right, in Princeton. So you know that all the matchups at this time of the year are going to be quality matchups and quality opponents, and you don't take anyone lightly. With that understood, I feel that in terms of where Missouri is right now, it might only take one good basketball game to find their rhythm, and maybe not just offensively. For the long haul, they're going to really want their defense to be back to where it's been. And one game against Drake could get you feeling really good about your defense if you lock it down.
Well, and I go back to the SEC tournament week where, Mizzou beat Mississippi State, getting very, very little from Mark Mitchell because he left early with that knee issue. And then they were, ended up being a double-digit loss against Florida, but they were competitive for a significant chunk of that game against the Gators with literally zero from Mark Mitchell. He was held out for, precautionary reasons, and you're still able to have that kind of success. We haven't seen – it's been a couple weeks since Caleb Grill has kind of had one of those games where he leaves earth and hits a few threes in a row from half court. We know he has that in him. And some of the other guys who have been good outside shooters at times, the outside shots haven't necessarily been falling as much. But that potential is there, and I think that potential is certainly going to be there coming up later this week. Going to be fun.
Texas Tech is an offense that is rated 5th in adjusted efficiency by Pomeroy. Their defense rated 37th. So, again, you'd say that they're a little bit ahead of Mizzou in both cases. And JT Toppin is really, really good. Really good.
Well, you start off with a 30-win opponent, and then it gets harder the rest of the way. I mean, that's basically what it is. You start off with a team that won 30 games, and then you're probably going to play a top 25 caliber at minimum team every single game that you continue in the tournament. It's the NCAA tournament. It is what it is. The fact that Mizzou is in that hunt and in that conversation, again, I'll echo what Coach Gates said on Sunday. It's something you should not take for granted. This is my favorite event in sports. It's here. Mizzou's in the conversation. It's awesome. Let's do it.
Also, if the Seahawks rather can pull the upset, UNC Wilmington, the 11th best free throw percentage defense in the country, which again is a real stat they keep, but has nothing to do with actually defending anything.
So they're lucky.
Yeah,
we'll see what they do against Josh. We'll see what they do against Josh Gray. Josh Gray's got a little something for him on their free throw
I would love to
defense.
see that matchup when it comes to the free throw percentage defense. Could you have Josh Gray inducing a Seahawks? It's on the scouting report, right? Like everybody knows, but I just want a chance to see more Josh Gray lane violations.
Yeah, go Seahawks, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that is, I guess, as thorough a breakdown as we can do of this first weekend, and very hopefully, and I think Missouri's got a very fair chance to make it on to weekend number 2, and from there, like you said, your heart may not be able to take what is there in weekend 2, so we'll leave weekend 1 to its own and wish the Tigers best of luck with Coach Gates and company. By the way, not a slouch, Dennis Gates is the NABC District Coach of the Year. The All-Central District team, yes, they don't throw Missouri in the Southeast like some other coaches associations. All-Central District, and then Tamar Bates, Caleb Grill, and Mark Mitchell are all on the second team of the NABC Central District, which is well-regarded and well-deserved, and that means all the coaches in this part of the country know what a good job Dennis Gates and his team have done this season.
Yep, congrats to all of them for that honor.
Congrats to Helen Hu as well for the 5th time. The 5th time. She is SEC Specialist of the Week. You should do that when you earn a perfect 10. She did it on the road at Arkansas, and Missouri, once again, it just continues to be peaking at the right time for the black and gold. Nobody has ever done 5 times Specialist of the Week from the Southeastern Conference, and Helen Hu has done it.
Congratulations to her. Mara Titarsoli had a 9.975 on the bars, so she got close to joining Hu in the 10 club. Sophomore Hannah Horton tied a career best, 9.95 on the floor. Best team score on the beam ever, tied a season high on the vault. Handled their business against Arkansas. I mean, posted a 1.978 on the road. That's pretty darn impressive last Friday. And also something that it doesn't sound incredibly impressive, but it really is, to be heading into the SEC championships on Saturday and to be in the late session. That's a really big deal, to be one of the top 4 that gets to compete in the late session. The other 3 teams that are in that late session are ranked 1, 2, 3 in the nation. That's the company you're keeping right now. And Mizzou, no slouch at number 7 in the country, but that's the company Mizzou's keeping right now, with the absolute best of the absolute best, and a chance to see what you got and try and win a conference title.
Well, that was a stated goal for Shannon Welker and his team before this season. We want to be in the night session. They did the work, especially at the end of the year, to put them in that night session. I think it was unfortunate that the SEC decided that there would not be some sort of bye rotation in the early session. Arkansas is a top 15 program, and they don't even get to compete for their conference championship. They got left home. That's how deep this whole thing is. A benefit, I think, for Missouri, because you're the 4th team, a lot of people would say, man, the last thing I would want to do is start my night on beam. And Missouri may be one of those teams that says, Helen Hu is our anchor. We may relish the chance to go beam floor, then vault bars. It may shape up to be a way that if Missouri gets momentum and they set a very high standard on beam and on floor, that, I mean, after Missouri on beam is all 3 opponents. After Missouri on floor is LSU and Oklahoma. You might say that they are, the defending national champions and the team that might be a prohibitive favorite to be the national champions. I mean, if you set scores early enough in either of those apparatus that judges can have in the back of their mind, man, that didn't meet what I saw from so-and-so, all of a sudden you can find yourself in a position to really surprise some people in this thing. I think that all things considered, Missouri would love to have, anchor Helen Hu on the first apparatus to try to post a big number that others have to chase as the meet grows later and things get tighter, and everybody knows what the scores have to be to win a championship.
And how crazy could Saturday be? I mean, you've got gymnastics is going to be competing for a conference title on Saturday. We're hoping that Mizzou men's basketball is still competing on Saturday in the second round of the NCAA tournament, and somebody like a Keegan O'Toole could be going for a national title all on Saturday, and that's not even factoring in the teams that'll be in action in terms of regular season play.
Yeah, it is. It might be one of those that you can remember for a long, long time in a very positive way as a Missouri fan. So we're looking forward to Saturday in many, many ways. Congratulations as well to a national champion. And thank goodness that we get to say national champion.
Yeah, Jonathan Sermais in the triple jump during last weekend's NCAA indoor meet in Virginia Beach. He went a personal best 17.04 meters. I'm not a triple jump.
That's 55 feet.
Yeah,
that's really 56 feet.
I'm not a triple jump expert, but that does appear really far, yes. And he's just Mizzou's fourth ever men's indoor national champ, and he's the first one this century. You've got to go back to 1999 for the last one. Mizzou as a team finished top 25 in the country, so that's pretty sweet, 23rd nationally, and you had 6 Tigers overall, named All-Americans, and you had 3 on the women's side, 3 on the men's side. So congrats to all of them, headlined, of course, by Sermais.
Yeah, 2 All-Americans. Sterling Scott was a first-team All-American in the men's triple jump, and in the high jump, Christy Perez-Steinman, she makes it. Euphenie Andre makes it as an All-American first-teamer. I mean, a lot of talent in the jump events at the very least, and I know that the field events as well have been very strong for this Missouri track program. I mean, Jonathan and Sterling helped the men's team to a top 25 finish at the indoors, which, I mean, not easy to come by, especially when you're only getting so many there to the final stage. So congratulations and well done to all of them who competed at that indoor championship. And now you just hope that it stays the same when the wind's in your face.
Starting Friday. Outdoor season begins right away Friday at the Yellow Jacket Invitational in Atlanta. That's crazy, man. I thought they got a little bit of time off, but no, we're going right into it.
No, we're going to have to peak for this, and then you're going to have to be out there once again and have some fun. We don't know the result of softball's action against Illinois in the midweek, but we know that bragging rights are on the line when those two meet at all times. Mizzou softball will be, I think, looking for a little bit of, the crowd energy to help them out against the tough draw in Oklahoma this weekend. They're going to have their 50th anniversary celebration. They'll be naming like the all-time team over the course of the weekend. They've got great giveaways for fans. I would say just keep your eyes peeled if you're a Missouri fan and try to find your way to be there at some course over the weekend if you possibly can, because it's going to be great competition. The softball stadium will be packed, and Missouri's going to look to put a real feather in its cap and something for its resume, even if they can win one game against this Oklahoma program, whose reputation precedes it coming into the weekend.
Absolutely, they've been the standard in women's college softball for several years now. So, like you said, even to get one would be huge. There had a nice weekend at the Mizzou Invitational and tacked on the Kansas City game there on Sunday last week. Went 5-0 through the weekend. You mentioned the Illinois game. As we're recording this, it's in progress. Then the huge homestand with Oklahoma over the weekend, and then Kansas coming up a Wednesday of next week. So a lot of big stuff coming up. That win against Michigan, by the way, let's not blow past that, because Michigan was a top 40 net team, RPI team, whenever Mizzou was able to pick up that win. So trying to build that confidence up as the competition picks up, starting with the Sooners this weekend.
They handled Michigan very well. Abby Hay, who I pinned a lot of early hopes on personally. I don't think Abby heard it, but she had 4 driven in that game. It was important, I think, to see for her and the Tigers as things move forward. On the baseball diamond, Missouri will entertain Ole Miss. No midweek game for the Tiger baseball team. Their trip down to LSU ended in 3 defeats. The Saturday game was the closest. Free passes and mistakes, quite honestly, did them in. I think the offense played very well. If you want to look at something that you can take in as a positive from the weekend that maybe this Tiger squad can build upon, LSU had allowed 6 home runs as a pitching staff entering the weekend, and through 2 games against Missouri, they had surrendered 5. So it's not that this very talented staff, of which the Tigers saw plenty of the top arms, and several of them on multiple occasions, It's not as if they didn't give their best effort. It's that Missouri was able to find ways to at times frustrate. They drew their walks, they had their patient eyes, and they did some things offensively that they would like, but they didn't do nearly enough when giving this LSU offense that had, I think, 4 or 5 hitters around 340 or better in terms of their batting average coming into the weekend. Those guys just don't give you an inch when there are mistakes. And I felt like LSU played its best on Sunday, unfortunately for Missouri. The starting pitching maybe showed a few more cracks in terms of wildness. There were a lot of hits batsmen over the weekend that Missouri will have to clean up. But they will have a chance to clean them up because they were playing against, depending on who you ask, the number 1 or number 2 team in the country at the time. They're still consensus number 2 this week in LSU. They have a big weekend at Austin, Texas that I think will be a separator. But we find everything out about everybody in these games in the Southeastern Conference, especially these teams with lofty records, of which Ole Miss will be one of them. The Rebels, as of the end of weekend play, a 15-4 record, dropped their last 2 to Arkansas, but won the first game at Swayze Field, and they will come to Missouri. And in the early season, in the past couple of years, just remember, teams that have made the College World Series have been swept at Old Mizzou. You go 2 years back to Tennessee, you go last year to Florida. For some reason, SEC teams, especially early in the year, do not have their best performances at Missouri, where the Tigers feel very comfortable. So I feel like these games at 6-4 and 4 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are definitely opportunities for Missouri to get back on the right track and get a foothold on the path to what they need, which is at least 15 wins in this conference to find themselves where they want to be in a regional at the end of this season.
And a chance for Mizzou fans to watch softball early and perhaps baseball late on Saturday and Sunday if you want to take advantage of that. So that should be pretty fun. Are you ready? Is it lightning round time?
Yes, go Lightning round.
All right, here we go. Swim and dive. Women's National Championships starting Wednesday of this week in the Seattle area. By my count, 6 swimmers and a diver will be there. The men's championships coming up next week in Federal Way, Washington. Women's tennis lost at home last weekend against Texas A&M in Texas. Next at Florida on Friday evening, at Auburn on Sunday at noon. Men's golf, General Hackler Invitational in Myrtle Beach. We've covered that very well, I feel like, on the podcast.
Of course.
That wrapped up on Tuesday. The Tigers finished 12th out of 16 teams. Next up, the Hootie at Bulls Bay this coming Sunday through Tuesday. Women's golf is in the Florida State matchup in Tallahassee Friday through Sunday of this week. Women's soccer, little spring soccer action at home against Missouri S&T Thursday night at 8 o'clock if you need your other football fix. And the American football spring practice is wrapping up for the Tigers this week, and then Pro Day is coming up on Friday.
And don't forget, by the way, Tuesday the 25th, Mizzou baseball will play Illinois in Sauget. That is their seemingly annual game now in the St. Louis area where fans can really come out and see them. They'll play another one at SIU Edwardsville a little bit later on in the year. But the big ones against the Illini, there are always 3,000 or 4,000 fans there, no matter the weather. Sometimes it is very cold. I am not going to lie to you. It was chilly last year, but put on an extra layer. The game will be played at 6 just on the east side of the river in Sauget at now Grizzlies Ballpark. It's what it's called. Gateway Grizzlies just said, we're going to put our own name on this thing. We built it. Come on. So that's always a good litmus test, I think, in terms of the midweek in the middle of the season. And if you really want to do the double, then you get to come home the next night. And if you live in mid-Missouri and you can see them play Kansas, and that one at the softball stadium, I mean, I'll be tired from Sauget. I want to go to that game against Kansas, and I'm sure a lot of our friends across Mizzou Nation will want to do the same.
Good stuff, man. This is the fun time of year. Hard to beat it.
Absolutely. So we're looking forward to bringing much good news to you on next week's podcast. And if we can't, we'll blame it on Andrew Bristow, who's our great producer. He gave the look of death from over there. He's been helping us out all season long, and he does a great job. It's not really his fault, but I would like to blame him instead of, actual reasons. And thank you for listening. I know that we're coming towards the end of the winter sports season, but it has been a very full ride already, Bradley. So
certainly has.
So we look to continue it in earnest for Brad Trinago, and thank you to Brian Smith and Cam Steed, of course, all of them. I'm just Matt Michaels saying thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Inside Mizzou Athletics podcast.